Before I get into this review, I want to say that I went into the Mean 6 as fresh as possible. No, I didn't watch any of the stolen episodes, including this one. The only thing I knew of it was the title and a little animatic that was released officially at a convention near the end of 2017. Beyond those two things though, this episode is as new as can be for me, so I have not formed any early opinions that could affect the outcome of my review. Anyway, it's been a season and a half since we've last seen Midnight Chimes' waifu Chrysalis, and I'm definitely excited to see what she's been scheming this whole time to get revenge for having a second plot foiled. And don't worry, I've been careful not to overhype myself and artificially influence my opinion. In fact, it took 4 seasons for us to see Chrysalis return after Canterlot Wedding, so a season and a half isn't too bad of a wait for her. Interestingly enough, however, her plan this time seems to have reached its full progression. Remember in her first appearance, she kidnapped Cadence and posed as her to get her horde closer to the love of Canterlot. Then in her second appearance into Where and Back Again, she had her changelings steal the identities of the main 6. Now in her third appearance, she's actually creating evil clones of the main 6 to cause havoc. Yes, I know, creating evil clones isn't the most original plot ever, but I just love both how it's sort of a culmination of her 2 previous plans and how diabolical it is. But how did it turn out? Well, definitely not the way I was expecting, and probably not the way others were expecting either. Since this was only going to be a single episode and not a dual episode return for Chrysalis, I honestly didn't know what to expect from the Mean 6. Maybe Chrysalis creates the evil clones, sends them out into Ponyville and wreak havoc or stir up distrust between the residents and the real Main 6? Oh, thank goodness it wasn't that. That just seemed way too predictable, and we wouldn't have gotten much of Chrysalis in the episode itself if it just focused on the Mean 6 putting a stain on the Main 6's reputations. No, what we got was actually kind of an interesting mix of comedy and what I like to call a behind-the-scenes episode. Rather than it just showing Chrysalis being evil and conducting the final phase of an evil plan like we've seen already twice before, we got a peek at her concocting her scheme right from the start of the episode and trying to see it through, even if using the Mean 6 to get the elements was a phase in of itself for a grander plan. Yet it's still us witnessing her trying to accomplish her goal. That's really unique, especially for an episode of MLP where we get a good chunk of time dedicated to the villain's point of view. I do like seeing a villain working towards accomplishing their goals, trying to put things into motion, especially since we've twice already had characters more or less stumble upon her plans after she's begun them, or she's just revealed them herself. And I really enjoyed this behind the scenes aspect of the episode. I think it works even beyond giving us a snippet of how Chrysalis tries to carry out a plan. The scene where we got the creation of the Mean 6 could just be written off as a huge exposition dump, but I think there's more to it than that. Firstly, I do think it was indeed cool to actually witness the process of what Chrysalis had to do in order to generate the Mean 6, instead of ending the prologue with a flash of magic and then coming back from commercial with the clones already standing at attention for Chrysalis. Secondly, there was a good bit of humor with Chrysalis talking to herself and the pictures. Kathleen Barr deserves an Emmy nomination for this short scene alone. Heck, she even gives Celestia a run for her bits for most adorable prance. Thirdly, however, underneath those comedic moments lies what I believe to be Chrysalis' rotting sanity. Yes, I believe this whole scene wasn't just so we could see her magical abilities or for a few laughs at Chrysalis talking to herself. I think it was used to show that losing her entire horde and hive has put her on a path to complete insanity. She clearly wasn't just thinking out loud, she was full on talking to the Main 6 pictures as if she had captured them and if they were really there. Combine that aspect with the comedy of the scene and I think it becomes more than just an exposition dump on what her plan is. We see the effects of losing a second time, more specifically to Starlight as Chrysalis emphasizes, has on her sanity. It didn't just make her angry or simply piss her off, it's literally driving her mad. Heck, Chrysalis also points out that she has a more difficult time dealing with the Mean 6 than with her old horde because she simply can't control them like with her changeling drones. Essentially, Chrysalis had to work extra hard to keep the Mean 6 in line for her plan, even considering killing them and starting over at one point because of how much of a pain they were for her. That definitely is not going to help her already fragile sanity. Her twitching eyes seems a bit more important than just a quick gag of how irritated she was now, doesn't it? Still though, it was nice to see Chrysalis be forced to put more effort into a plan and work with minions instead of having minions just blindly follow her orders like before. Speaking of the comedy, this was easily one of my favorite parts of the episode. Yes, while the Mean Six were sort of like how the main six were when they faced Discord in Return of Harmony, I loved each and every one of them. I loved how conniving evil Twilight was, which I'll get to again momentarily. How much of a jerk evil Fluttershy was, even telling the animals of the forest she wishes they'd all freeze in the winter. Evil Pinkie being so unhappy with literally everything around her and criticizing a bubble pop from the bog where the real Twilight was resting was hilarious, especially when she was lying on the ground repeating, "Bored, bored, bored." Now, AJ's evil counterpart not only being a liar, but being a con artist was a great mixture. My favorite joke with her was when she was fibbing to Rarity and Glim, which turned out to be a reference to 127 hours, mainly because I wasn't expecting that joke. With evil Rainbow Dash, the scene where she pretty much told Fluttershy to buck off was great, but I just adored how lazy she was. She was always finding a place to sit and do nothing, even at the end when the other mean clones were harassing the Tree of Harmony. She just flew over and tried to take a nap at the base of the tree. The absolute laziness and jerkiness of evil Dash was on point. However, evil Rarity took the cake for my favorite evil clone. Her going absolutely apeshit over stealing things, be it from AJ's wagon or just twigs and rocks, was freaking gold. What really sold the joke for me, other than the insane facial expressions she had, was the near golem-like voice she used by Tabitha St. Germain when she said the word mine. Not to mention, Rainbow and AJ being freaked out over her behavior was another reason to love evil Rarity. Now, I did say Chrysalis had funny moments as well, like when she was talking to the main six pictures, but what makes the jokes with her work was the fact that she was not turned into an all-out goofball or flanderized like Spike was in Spike at Your Service. Most of the jokes with Chrysalis involved her being frustrated with the Mean Six or to show she's going insane. However, she was also intimidating to the Mean Six when she needed to be. Come on, she threatened evil Twilight point blank that she would kill her and start over no problem if she had to. The only reason why she couldn't was because evil Twilight knew of the Tree of Harmony's location and Chrysalis couldn't let that information slip through her hooves. Plus, you have that scene which I'm sure Midnight Chimes would kill anyone to be in, where she knocked over evil AJ, Pinkie, and Rarity and trapped them between her front legs so that they would follow her orders. It shows that she's still very short-tempered, but she's also not screwing around and reminding them what she can do to them by being physically menacing. I know that it was followed with her eye-twitching gag, but I still see that as her losing grip on her sanity. Back to evil Twilight, I admit I could see Chrysalis's plan backfiring by having one or all of the Mean Six betray her for the elements themselves, but for me, the jokes definitely helped keep the episode entertaining. And again, I enjoyed how devious evil Twilight was. She wasn't just like, hey, let's do this thing instead. She had the idea to betray Chrysalis, but built it up over time once she learned of the Tree of Harmony's location through a funny scene of Pinkie annoying the hell out of her. I think what else makes this work is Chrysalis's suspicion of her. She overheard evil Twilight talking about taking the elements herself for the other mean clones, and while we know Chrysalis didn't destroy them and start over because she would have lost the location of the Tree of Harmony, there was still a possibility of Chrysalis getting fed up anyway and killing them. So it was a huge guessing game of what would happen with Chrysalis's patience and sanity. Besides, thanks to that ending, the Tree of Harmony did it for Chrysalis. My god, if there's one lesson the Mean Six taught us is do not with the Tree of Harmony, because it will outright murder you. That is probably one of the most memorable endings to an MLP episode, at least to me. However, if there's one thing I have to criticize with the Mean Six, it's the choice to change up the designs of the cutie marks for evil Fluttershy, Dash, and AJ. Look, I get that it was done to emphasize their evil and all now, but making all members of the Mean Six paler worked just fine. Even them standing next to the real Mean Six was enough of a contrast to keep us from getting confused. Now, to be fair, I liked having evil Dash's cutie mark upside down. That's actually more of a unique stylistic choice than changing the color, but the thing is, it only worked because none of the real Main Six got close enough to her to see it, nor did evil Fluttershy have any contact with them either, so their cutie mark changes work despite having no real point. But the fact that evil AJ actually had enough contact with Rarity and Starlight to the point she told them an entire fake story brings up why neither of them noticed her apples changed from red to green. Sure, Starlight could have just been distracted enough by carrying all that heavy gear the real AJ gave her while they were searching for the others, as Rarity did, but it's kind of hard to buy that even Rarity, who is meticulous with details, didn't notice her friend's cutie mark was different. She even noticed AJ was a tad paler than usual, so again, what's the point of giving her a different colored cutie mark when making her pale worked just fine and didn't arouse too much suspicion? It's not enough to ruin the episode for me personally, but this artistic decision really leaves me scratching my head. So, with all that said, I quite enjoyed the Mean 6. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting from a Chrysalis episode, but I liked it for what it is. We got a peek into what Chrysalis has been up to since To Wearing Back Again, and she's still evil. No reformation for her. Let's just hope it stays that way. Plus, we got some hints that she's losing her mind, which could make for a very interesting arc for her on what her diminishing mental state can make her do on her quest for revenge. And we got some really great gags courtesy of the Mean 6, learn to not mess with the Tree of Harmony lest you wish to have life sucked right out of you, and as a little treat, Rarity's mini arc on camping came full circle with how light she packed. And we even got more development on Glim, who we found out hates nature. All in all, I have to give the Mean 6 a green flag rating, and I can't wait to see Chrysalis return once more. But what did you think? Leave your thoughts down below, and thanks for watching. I'm MrLeftTurn. I'll see you when I get back from the track.